Church, what a difference a week makes. Out of the 4 couples that said yes on decision day, only 2 remain standing. And between you and me, I only believe in one of them. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. All right, y'all, so let's jump right on into our hot topics. I only have one. Let's talk about Lindsey's big mouth versus Steve and Noi. Now, y'all listen. If you would recall in the beginning of the season, Steve and Noi were very adamant about keeping their sexual relationship and the information therein to themselves, right? And I didn't really have any problems with it, right? In most seasons, they pretty much let you decide what you want to share and what you don't. So it's not out of the realm of normality for people to decide that they don't want to share their sexual journey with everybody on the show, as well as the open public, right? But come to find out, though, that one of the reasons that they did not want to share it on the show is because all roads lead back to Lindsey. Now, y'all, I cannot stress this enough. Lindsey has a disease that I would like to call diarrhea of the mouth, okay? It's mouth open, tongue everlasting. And mama's mouth is so quick that sometimes her mind can't keep up. So what was interesting to learn is that apparently Steve peeped how Lindsey was from the beginning, right? And he told Noi, I understand that you want to be friends with this person. I understand that, you're going through a shared experience. You might want to share things, but I would recommend that you don't tell her anything important and don't pretty much divulge any secrets to her, because I don't know if she can keep a lid on it, right? And true to form, the minute that Noi told Lindsey about her sexual relationship with Steve, apparently it got to the ear of one of the producers, okay? And the producer ended up telling, I guess, the other producer, and the word got back to Steve and Noi that their business was out there in terms of Lindsey being too loose with her damn lips, okay? Am I surprised? Absolutely not. Like I said before, Lindsey's mouth goes off before her mind can keep up. And as far as I'm concerned, Noi, out of everyone that you could have shared a secret with on that damn show, to pick Lindsey was a damn mistake. So I'm glad that you realized in that moment that she could not be trusted in that respect, and you decided to keep your personal stuff to yourself, okay? Once bitten, twice shy, and I'm glad that they learned that lesson. Now on to our general couple updates, y'all. Let's get on into Chris and Alyssa. So first and foremost, Mama was there to do damage control. Listen, after the season that she had, and after, I'm sure, the dragging across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and wherever else Married at First Sight would touch on the damn internet, Mama was there to play public relations and to also try to remedy her public persona, right? And you really can't fault her for that. But I was really hopeful that in terms of her starting with an apology, there was some level of introspection there and some level of accountability in terms of her actions that led to this damn result, right? But the thing that I had to realize with Alyssa, y'all, is that when someone is crazier than a soup sandwich, if you give them the rope to hang themselves, they will. Okay, and that's what we continually saw in the segment with Chris, Alyssa, and Kevin, okay? Alyssa would say something that contradicted herself, then Kevin would play the footage that basically showed the facts in the case, and then Chris would come with the accompanying details that were rooted in reality, okay? So if we're not going to deal with reality in terms of even at the reunion, in terms of what happened, then I don't know what you're there for, right? Because to me, if you're trying to remedy your public persona and you're trying to show people that perhaps you were emotional during this experience and perhaps, you didn't put your best foot forward, logic would tell me that you would pretty much have to fall on your sword at that point and realize that you were the problem in the relationship to begin with. And I don't think that that level of accountability and that level of introspection is anything that Alyssa was ready to do on that damn stage, which was evident in terms of what happened. Now, in terms of the second point, y'all, she claims that she was emotional and there for the right reasons. I won't spend long on this point. Now, the thing I like about Chris is that Chris is very classy based, okay? Like I said, if you give Alyssa the rope to hang herself, she will. And she did, okay? Now, I'm glad Chris picked up on the shade that she was trying to give. She said she was there for the right reasons, and then he added, at first. absolutely agree, okay? When she signed up for Married at First Sight, she was doing it for the right reasons. When she did the damn surveys online, she was there for the right reasons. When she showed up to the wedding, she was there for the right reasons. But the moment she saw who she was married to and the fact that he did not fit within her defined box in terms of what she wanted, she was no longer there for the right reasons. And at that point, she was there for simply the experience, which is what Chris was saying. So listen, if we cannot deal on the same level and with the same facts, there can be no growth, okay? If there's no introspection in terms of the part that I played that got us to our conclusion, there can be no growth from it. And if Chris is based in reality and Alyssa is based in delusions, there can be no growth. There can be growth on Chris's side because clearly he has moved on to bigger and better things. But as for Alyssa, until we understand our past, we are destined to keep making the same mistakes. And until she realizes that she was the problem in her damn marriage, she's going nowhere fast, you know? Now, moving on to Katina and Olajuwon, y'all. Let's talk about this notion of don't give up on him. He's worth the wait and patience is a virtue. First off, y'all, Katina and Olajuwon are one of the couples that are still together, okay? And I could go through this long, diatribe of I'm so overcome with emotion about their story. And, they've been through so much and they seem to be, very in love with each other and wanting to move forward. I can do that. But it would be disingenuous, okay? I come at this from a very logical perspective. And to be completely honest, y'all, and I want y'all to go with me for a second. Katina and Olajuwon give me very Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston vibes, right? And I'm not talking in terms of domestic violence or substance abuse or alcohol abuse or anything of that sort. I'm just saying that when Bobby got with Whitney Houston, everybody was saying from the outside looking in, it did not make sense logically. They do not understand why they are together. And when I looked back, because I did a bit of research, just to do this video as I always do. And when Whitney sat down with Oprah, she said she stayed with Bobby for one of two reasons, actually for two reasons. Number one, they had unending amounts of passion, right? And number two, she wanted to prove everybody else wrong that said that they would not work out. So my fear for the Katina and Olajuwon situation is that Katina stays with Olajuwon because she wants to prove everyone wrong, right? That may not be the case. I may be being a bit far-fetched in terms of my reasoning, but y'all drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about it, right? But furthermore, once I started to think about it even more, y'all, I think we have to take logic out of the situation, and we also have to take what we would do out of the situation, right? Because if after all of these stress, struggles, and strife that Katina has gone through with Olajuwon, saying yes on decision day, staying together 5 months afterwards, if this is her happy ending, then so be it, okay? People are the sum total of their life's experiences, okay? And my happy ending and your happy ending may look different from what Katina's happy ending is. And so if Olajuwon represents her prize at the end of all the stress, struggles, and strife and her happy ending, then basically as a collective, we have to respect that decision and move on from there. If they like it, I love it. I'm based in logic, so I don't really know about the longevity of the situation. But if they have both made a conscientious decision to stay together despite all of these stress, struggles, and strife and misgivings that have happened during this season, then I wish them complete luck in the situation. I think we should all do the same. Sometimes it's all about choice. It's all about choice. It's all about intention, and it's all about emotion. And if those three things have combined to make Katina realize that this is the man for her and this is the man that she's waited for, and she can have patience with all of his issues and the fact that, in real time he's trying to change, then like I said before, I wish them a lifetime of luck. I just won't be around for it if I was Katina and Olajuwon's friend. I'm just saying. Now, moving forward, let's talk about this whole relaxation at the end of the night issue that they didn't want to talk about. Now, I was kind of, when I watched it on the screen, y'all, I remembered a comment from one of my subscribers by the name of No Name. And No Name, in one of the comments on the Decision Day video, they basically said that they didn't believe the timeline in terms of when Katina and Olajuwon consummated their marriage, okay? And so if evidence was a situation, we have clear and present evidence of that right now, okay? And I think sometimes these couples and people in general can play fast and loose with details in terms of what constitutes consummation. So let's take a step back. So on the show, they basically start talking about the relaxation at the end of the night, but they won't get into what it actually is, right? And so they start talking about a couple of details, and Olajuwon says, you know, he told Katina he was going to go take a shower, and Katina said that once he got out of the shower, she would be ready for him. If it was something mundane or something that was just easy to talk about, whether she was giving him a massage or whether she was greasing his scalp, those situations would have been easy to talk about. The fact that they were so cagey about it and didn't really want to get into it and seemed to want to just move past it leads me to believe there was some sort of oral transaction of the situation, and mama was doing like the old ladies back in the day and giving her husband a professional, okay? And that's why I say people like to play fast and loose in terms of what constitutes consummation. It kind of reminds me of, like, you know, the Catholic schoolgirls from back in the day. They would continue to say that they were virgins as long as actual penetration didn't happen. Now, if you do everything from A to Zimbabwe other than penetration, to me, I don't know if you could technically call yourself a virgin in that situation. And for Katina and Olajuwon, I'm not sure if y'all was doing oral transactions, fellatio, professionals, or whatever, if you could truly say that you hadn't consummated your marriage. But to me, it's kind of like a play on semantics. And like I said before, if they like it, I love it, and I'm going to move on. Y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if you think I'm right and what you think that the whole relaxation at the end of the night was about. Now, on to my last point on Katina and Olajuwon, y'all. Let's talk about this finish line reversal. So before I said that, you know, Olajuwon is trying to do better, is trying to be a better person in real time. And I think what we saw during the season is that, you know, Olajuwon would create a finish line for Katina. Katina would get close, and then he would continually keep moving the finish line. And what we seem to be seeing now is the reversal of that situation, which is, it seems like Katina is kind of in the driver's seat and Olajuwon is kind of taking his cues from her, at least in terms of what we're seeing on the show. Now, like I said, or, you know, like we can surmise, it's very hard to get a full summation of someone's relationship in a 2-hour show, right? Something that is highly produced, highly edited, and people want to show their best side to the camera. We do not know what goes on in that household when we're not there to see it on camera, right? But if he says he's trying to do better, and he says he's pretty much letting Katina take the lead and trying to be a better person for her, then we kind of have to believe him at his word until we get any information to, you know, to pretty much contradict that, right? But if it is true, you know, the thing I feel about Olajuwon, y'all, is that in the beginning of the season, I watched back, you know, my old videos. I was on his side, and I don't dislike Olajuwon at all. But like I told y'all, I deal in logic. And for me, it's kind of hard to believe that you would go through 8 weeks of hell and then instantly it's just immediately you're perfect, you're a new person, you're growing in love, and you're changing in real time. And so if that's the case, I salute him, okay? And I think that it's a wonderful turnaround, and I'm glad that it's a reversal in terms of you constantly trying to create, you know, barriers and finish lines for her versus her being now in the driver's seat. So good for y'all. Like I said before, I wish y'all a lifetime of luck. And I hope that this is a true representation of y'all relationship now and not just very good pageantry for the cameras. Now on to Jasmina and Michael, y'all. We find out that they broke up 2 weeks post-decision day after having a very big argument on lack of effort. Now, as far as Jasmina and Michael are concerned, y'all, I called it. I said in my last review, I said, I hope this is not a swift yes on decision day for an even swifter yes to end the marriage later. And come to find out, it came to fruition. So I take no delight in terms of the dissolution of the marriage. I'm just saying that from the beginning, or actually from the point in time where they finally got level set in terms of what their relationship was and they became good friends, I said I liked y'all better as friends. And I firmly believe that when y'all tried to inject romance into the relationship and try to make it more than what it was kind of the beginning of the end for the relationship. Furthermore, you know, Last week when we found out that they weren't going to move in together, I said, okay, this is not going to last. Because if you think about it, the only reason that y'all got to the friendship level and the level set level is because y'all were forced to be in a house together all the time, okay? And in some cases, absence can make the heart grow fonder, but in y'all case, in terms of not being together after decision day, absence made the heart grow further, okay? If you're not constantly in the same place and forced to work on your issues, you can literally let the separation of distance create a larger separation in your general relationship, which is clearly what happened here. Like I said, I liked y'all better as friends to begin with. And I don't really know if y'all would have ever truly gotten to the romantic stage, even if y'all had 5 months post cameras to decide it. And the fact that the dissolution happened just 2 weeks after decision day means to me that y'all would have been better off just calling it quits on decision day because the romantic feelings weren't there then. Now, let's get on into this whole notion of compliments and turning each other on. So while they're there talking with Kevin, Jasmina starts talking about how she would give Michael compliments all the time in terms of that she liked his appearance, what he was wearing, that he was funny, X, Y, and Z. But she felt that Michael didn't give those same compliments to her and she didn't feel beautiful, wanted, X, Y, Z. And then Kevin jumped in and, when Michael was talking about how, you can't romance somebody that doesn't want to be romanced, Kevin jumped in and he was like, well, you can put in an effort there. You can, kind of show your care, kind of show your interest by giving compliments. Let's keep it all the way 100, which is where Kevin finally got to. I don't care if Michael gave Jasmina compliments every hour on the hour for the 5 months after decision day. That man was in the damn friend zone from day one, okay? It was clearly a situation where he liked her more than she liked him. And sometimes those situations work out in terms of, the man always feeling like the woman is out of his league and the woman knowing that she has the man wrapped around her finger, right? But when the woman is already on the fence in terms of her romantic feelings for the man, it always puts you at a disadvantage in terms of, the relationship and trying to get on a level set in terms of romance, right? Furthermore, one thing you can say about Jasmina is that she was consistent. She never led Michael to believe that she had those romantic feelings, right? And she was kind of very open in terms of that was the main struggle between the two of them. Now, I'm not saying romantic feelings can't build after, spending time with someone and finding out you have commonalities and going through shared experiences. I'm just saying that if we want to keep it all the way 100, y'all, most times in a, boy-girl capacity, in a dating capacity, and a boyfriend-girlfriend capacity, or even just meeting somebody out and about, within, the first 30 seconds to a minute if you like the person, if you start to have those butterflies in your stomach in terms of feeling romantic feelings, and also whether or not you want to have sex with the person. Quiet as it's kept, okay? We make those kind of decisions within the first time of meeting most people, even if we don't want to talk about it or not, or even if you keep it at the recesses of your brain, okay? And from the beginning, Michael had those feelings in terms of romance for Jasmina, but Jasmina did not have it for Michael. And so when you're always continually on not the same page, it's very hard to get there, especially if after decision day you decide to part your separate ways and try to figure it out in modern times in terms of, I'm going to be at my house, you're going to be at your house, we're going to text and communicate and try to figure it out from there. And on to the last point, y'all, of being great friends and on good terms. Listen, if they would have sat there on that stage and told us that they were still together, I would have believed them, right? And I say that because of the closeness that they were on the couch, right? Just the body language. He was kind of a bit angled towards her. She was kind of angled towards him. They were close in terms of shoulders. Like they're very comfortable with each other, which is not indicative of them having relationship potential, but it's more indicative of the closeness and the bond and the friendship that they've built throughout the 8 weeks and post that, right? So even if we didn't end on good terms, at least since we built that basis of being friends, we can part on good terms, right? Even if a relationship didn't result from our union, right? So listen, I think that their situation is the ideal situation in terms of a relationship dissolution, and that we can still remain friends post of it, and that we are not each other's enemy, right? Now, moving on to Steve and Noi. So we find out, y'all, that they're still married and they spend 6 out of the 7 days together a week. Now, no surprise that they're still married. I said before that as long as Noi could get over, Steve representing everything in life that gives her pause, they would be able to go the distance, right? And even the whole only spending 6 out of the 7 days a week doesn't really give me pause. It doesn't really, set off my spidey senses, especially after Dr. Pepper had mentioned how in her second marriage, which is the one that she's in now, her and her husband don't even live together. And I understand that's an extreme example because in her first marriage where she raised kids, they were in the house together all the time. But I say that to say this. Relationships can be constructed all sorts of different ways. And I think that because Steve and Noi have a lot up in the air in terms of being supremely comfortable with each other, they have to kind of give each other grace in certain ways, right? So just as, Noi has to give Steve grace in terms of, the whole 3-kid conversation, the whole budget conversation, the whole working conversation, Steve has to kind of give Noi grace a bit in terms of holding on to a piece of her independence and feeling supremely comfortable to put all of her eggs in his basket, even though that's her husband, okay? And I think the fact that they're spending 6 out of the 7 days together is indicative of their, shared union and their commitment to the relationship, okay? As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a problem with Noi keeping her apartment, especially if it's another source of income, right? You could potentially rent it out, and that's additional money into the household that will probably give you more comfort in terms of your situation with Steve. So I ain't got a problem with the 6 out of the 7 days together a week. We also learned that Steve does not have a job yet, but they've created a deadline. Now, the only thing that I want to talk about in terms of this, I still don't have a problem with Steve not having a job. I think that one of the barriers that Noi had to get over is realizing that just because you don't have a job does not mean that you are broke, okay? So people try to kind of equivocate those two things, but in the current age, it's not necessarily the case, okay? People could have savings, people could have investments, and people could have a combination of the two. So just because someone doesn't have a job where they're working, 9 to 5, 40 hours a week does not mean that they are destitute, right? But what they have created, y'all, between them is a deadline that says that on this date, if you still feel that the way that our life is set up is not conducive to your comfortability, then I will look for employment, okay? I think that's a fair compromise, and it doesn't have to be a 9 to 5, 40-hour work week. It could be something part-time. It could be, him doing something freelance. There's a lot of different, ways to pretty much work out Steve working and being a contributing member to the family without him feeling like he's losing his independence and his free spirit in order to make Noi happy. Now, segueing into that, let's talk about them being comfy on money. And I've already alluded to it. Noi had to get over her whole reservations about Steve's finances. But what we've come to find out, y'all, is like I said before, once you have a full and open and honest conversation about your finances, how much money you have in the bank, how much savings that you have, how many investments, it helps to allay the fears that Noi was having in terms of her refugee status, being without and not wanting her life to be set up on those same terms, right? So we find out that Steve made an early investment in some sort of cryptocurrency. Baby, I don't know if it's Dogecoin or whether it's Bitcoin. Now, if it's Bitcoin, honey, he is living on easy street. And if it's Dogecoin, he might have to, work in about 2-3 years. We'll see. But needless to say, right now, Steve is okay. And I think that the level of comfort that we're seeing from Noi in this moment is indicative of them being in a very, very good place as far as finances and as far as she feels about it. We also learned that, they're in counseling right now just to work on their communication. As we know, that was a problem for them during the season. And, we even saw Sriracha come out and gave her 2 cents about their situation. So I honestly feel that with the track that they're on, plus counseling, plus Sriracha being in their corner, I think that they will truly be fine. I think that the only element that can break them up continually comes back to Noi, but as long as she keeps the faith and realizes that, his good qualities outweigh pretty much any of the fear that he gives you in terms of what you've always known and what you've always expected, they'll be fine. Now on to Lindsey and Mark, y'all. We come to find out that Lindsey is absolutely, positively no longer married to Mark the Shark. Hallelujah. Baby, apparently 1 month post decision day, everything went to hell in a handbasket very quickly. Now, what's interesting here is that he said yes because he was in fear of losing her, right? And to me, his yes was twofold. Number one, when they showed the montage of all the times in the relationship that Lindsey said that she was out, that she was done, that she had no much more to give to the relationship, one of the common threads that was kind of sewn through that whole experience was, the minute you do one thing to me, I'm completely out, right? So I think his fear in saying yes on decision day came as, number one, if I say no, I no longer want to be married to her, I know that this will be the nail in the coffin of the relationship and there will be no undoing this, right? And then furthermore, number two, he even admitted that he had a history of jumping out of situations before realizing that they were good for him in the long run, right? So it's kind of fear based on two levels. One, you're trying to allay Lindsey's fears and to allay Lindsey's wrath in the situation. And number two, you're trying to grow as a person and give somebody a chance to show you a different side of them post what you've already experienced of them. So very interesting to learn about that point. Now, the reason why they pretty much got divorced, like I said, it went to hell in a handbasket very quick, but it was the out of control fights, threats, and blow ups. I can believe all of it, okay? Every single bit of what he says, I can believe it, okay? Because when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And when Lindsey was on camera, she talked about this man's manhood, his finances, and his mama, among other things, his sexual prowess. Everything under the sun that you could think of that you would, not mention in mixed company, Lindsey had no problem mentioning it. So I don't think it's out of the stretch of imagination to believe that once you remove the cameras, once you remove the general public, once you remove the producers, that her venom doesn't grow deeper, okay? We already know that she conflates anger and sadness, so you cannot tell me that once you remove all of the elements that kind of kept her in check to a certain extent, that the venom wouldn't grow deeper, the digs wouldn't grow deeper, and she wouldn't try to cut that man absolutely to the white meat, all right? So I believe everything he said in terms of what he went through with her. Now, Lindsey decides that she's going to play the victim and she doesn't understand Mark's perspective. Once again, nothing new here. Lindsey lacks introspection, okay? Lindsey can talk about, everything under the sun about Mark. The minute Mark says anything about Lindsey, she's like a wounded animal and she can't believe what's happening to her. She can do all of the blowing up, all of the fighting, all of the venom, all of the vitriol and everything. And for some reason, when it comes time to recount what happened, she has amnesia. Can't remember any parts that she played in the situation, and everything is Mark's fault, okay? How can you ever have a relationship with someone that is not ever able to be accountable to the part that they played in any situation, okay? So listen, I think that they were matched perfectly to begin with. I just think that Lindsey has a problem with getting out of her own way, okay? She said she was glad when she first got with Mark because he had the ability to check her. Well, soon we came to realize that the more he checked her, the further off the handle that she flew. So if I can't check you without you going off the handle and you don't respect that I have your best intentions at heart and I'm not your enemy, then no argument will ever be over because it's literally just the peace and the calm before the next storm. And Mark pretty much jumped off the merry-go-round and said that he had enough. And I respect the hell out of him for it. And in terms of Lindsey and Mark's future, y'all, this was the really telling point. And this is why I made the point earlier about Jasmina and Michael and the way that they left the relationship. It's a very mature thing that even after you've gone through a lot of things with someone, that you can say that I wish you the best, right? And it was very telling when Lindsey, even at the end of the situation, even after all that they had been through, the venom on both sides, him trying to kick her out of his grandmother or his mother's house or whatever the case may be, that she could not wish him well. Kevin asked her, what's going on in your life? What's new with you? Well, baby, she packed up and moved from Boston to Palo Alto, California. She got a new job and she starts going in terms of, how her life is set up. And the thing about it is she could not stop herself from making a dig at Mark. I don't even know if it's a conscious thing. Like I said before, her mouth goes off before her mind can catch up, okay? And she says, It's good being out there in Palo Alto because I can deal with a lot more intellectual people, okay? You know, I'm used to dating engineers and the like, you know, very, introspective people, very smart people, and I deal better with those versus the creative types. So Kevin picks up on the shade and he says, are you saying that Mark is not an intellectual? And then she pretty much lets the floodgates loose, okay? Nothing new here. She cuts so deep and then she tries to play the victim afterwards. And I really, really feel that Mark is just so classy in the situation in terms of being combated with such venom and still wanting the best for Lindsey in the situation. He said that even though whatever happened between us, even though you basically done all this shit to me on this damn stage right now, I still wish you the best in California, okay? And that's the telling part. You know, it's growth, it's maturity, it's introspection, okay? And yes, a lot of things happen between the two of them. And yes, Lindsey is not to blame for all of them. But I think just like Alyssa, until she realizes the part that she plays and until she heals her past trauma, she's going to keep repeating these damn, instances in every single relationship that she gets in now and in the future. But y'all, I really think that's all I really wanted to say on this episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, bring on part 2 of the reunion. I'm here for all of it. I'll talk to y'all later.